Hello everyone, it's me, Maggie Elram, and today I'm doing something that I wish I had done earlier, but I'm going to be showing you some books that you can consider if you are just starting out. One of the questions that I've been getting recently is like, what books? What books do you recommend? All that kind of stuff. And I touched on it very briefly in the last video. I'm sorry my cat is going to be like all over me in this video because I'm sitting on the floor, so I apologize in advance. But I touched on it very briefly in the last video, but I was still getting some questions on like where to get the books and, you know, if there are other ones, what do I know? Give me your knowledge. So I decided to go through my own library today and pick out some different things that I can recommend to you guys and, you know, touch on some different subjects as well, because, you know, whenever you're asking, you know, for book recommendations, well, you know, different people are looking for different things, so it's kind of hard to narrow it down to, you know, just a few different books because there are so many different topics to cover. And I understand that that is part of what makes it a little overwhelming whenever you're beginning too. So this is by far not everything that I would recommend to you. There are so many other books that I could recommend that I just don't have in my possession anymore, or I never ended up buying or anything like that, and I'll try to, if I remember, bring some of those up as well. But this is just what I have, and this is what I'm going to show you guys. I feel like I'm out of focus. It keeps trying to focus on this behind me. So I'm going to start with Wicca because that is where I started whenever I began my path to witchcraft, to becoming a witch. So I'm going to start with a few books, and I read a lot of really bad books about Wicca, but I kept some of the ones that I enjoyed. And the very first recommendation that I always give you guys is A Witch Alone by Marion Green. I found it much later after I had already been on my path for a while, but it just covers being a solitary witch basically, and it has some really good like practices, and it gives you good ideas on where to start and how to do your own research and that kind of thing. And I really recommend this book above any other if you're starting out. It's by Marion Green. I got mine from Amazon. I got all of these from Amazon, just about. I order used books because they're really cheap, and it's always nice to recycle books too. You know, if people don't want it and I can get it for like 1 cent, then I'm definitely going to do that. But that's where I'm getting my books from. Because I don't know if you could find this in the bookstore anymore, but from Amazon. The next book I'm going to recommend is, and I already did some of these too, is The Inner Temple of Witchcraft and The Outer Temple of Witchcraft by Christopher Penczak. I like these two books because they cover a very vast amount of information, and a lot of it is stuff that it would take you a long time to collect all of the information on your own. So it's kind of a conglomeration of all of the kind of beginner information into just a few books. And I think there's 3 volumes altogether. And he has a bunch of different Temple of Witchcraft books, but the Inner and the Outer Temple are the ones that I recommend to start with. The Inner Temple is all about learning how to meditate and create the space within you, and then the Outer Temple is about beginning your practice and doing magic and, you know, practicing witchcraft and that type of thing. So the next book that I would like to recommend about Wicca is a Dorothy Morrison book. It's just called The Craft, and it's by Dorothy Morrison. I just really enjoy her as an author. She's just a really fun read. You're not going to get anything that's going to super wow you out of this book. It's just a very basic book on Wicca and how to practice it. And like I said, I just enjoy her as an author, and it's one of the ones that I kept. The next one I'm going to recommend is by our very own Mandy C, Eclectic Wicca. Mandy C is a YouTuber, and she's also a friend of mine. She did really wonderful writing this book, and I do recommend it for beginners. I think it is a really great collection of information and gives you good direction on where to start and how to begin. You can buy this online as well on Amazon. It's Eclectic Wicca, A Guide for the Modern Witch by Mandy C. She did really great. It's such a pretty book, too. It has some really pretty pictures in it as well, so I really enjoyed that one too. Now, you guys know that I always recommend you doing research kind of outside of reading the how-to books, so I have a few of those as well. If you're starting Wicca, then it's always good to start at the source with Gerald Gardner, so you may want to pick up Witchcraft Today by Gerald Gardner, where he kind of starts discussing at the time what was then modern day witchcraft and how it came about and that type of thing. You might also want to pick up The White Goddess by Robert Graves. This is where some people say that a lot of mythos came from, and it's super dense. It's not very fun to read, but it's worth looking into at least. You also want to look into just regular books on myths and legends. I have the Mabinogion, I can't say this, but I have it. It's like Irish Celtic myths and legends. I always took a lot of time reading my mythology because that's where I wanted my practice to come from, is from a place of like folklore and myths and that kind of thing. I also have Celtic Myths and Legends by Peter Beresford Ellis. This is a really good one. It has a really good way of telling the stories that I really enjoyed, so there's that one. Another good one about how modern day witchcraft kind of came to be today that is kind of a must-have is Triumph of the Moon by Ronald Hutton. Ronald Hutton? Yes, by Ronald Hutton. And it's really good for just exploring how witchcraft came to be, what it is today, where they think it came from, and you know, there's inaccuracies in this. There's going to be inaccuracies in everything that you read, but that doesn't make it any less part of our history. So it's always nice to read those types of things that talk about how witchcraft came about and, you know, how it turned into what it is today and that kind of thing. I also have Irish Myths and Legends by Michael Scott. That's funny because I've been watching The Office. For my Greek myths and legends, I recommend Mythology by Edith Hamilton. And this is one of my favorite ones whenever it comes to looking at Greek mythology. It's written really well, and it's pretty easy to read the stories the way that she has them laid out. Also, if you want to go super deep, you can get Myths from Mesopotamia. It's just an Oxford World Classic book. It reads kind of like, it's a translation of their myths and legends, so it's a little hard to read, but it's very, very interesting, so I recommend that too. Also, in the realm of Wicca, you can look into, I got into Laurie Cabot later on, but I do really enjoy her books, so I do recommend The Power of the Witch. This has some really bad historical inaccuracies in it, so I wouldn't really pay much attention to that. But she has some really good information in here otherwise about practice and that type of thing. I got this on Amazon. If working with spirits and the dead is something that you want to incorporate into your practice, I recommend The Witch's Book of the Dead by Christian Day. This is really good. It's Christian Day, Christopher Pinzak are both Cabot witches. They were both trained by Lori Cabot. And so you're going to see a lot of similarities in these books. But he also draws from some different like Italian type of witchcraft and that type of thing. But it's all about communicating with spirits and using them in your magical practices. So I do recommend that too. Moving on, let's do traditional witchcraft next. My favorite book for traditional witchcraft is going to be Jim and Gary, A Cornish Book of Ways. My cat ate mine, so I apologize about that. This is the first book that I got on traditional witchcraft, but I really enjoy it. It does focus mostly on witchcraft from Cornwall specifically, which is cool. I have ancestors from that region, so it's a really fun read. It gives you a fairly good basic information about traditional witchcraft and how it works. She has a few books. Another one is The Black Toad, which is also really good. The Black Toad goes into some more folkloric tradition as well, so that's a really fun read. Nice to pick that up. I also really like To Fly by Night, The Craft of the Hedge Witch. This is not really a how-to book or anything like that. It's a collection of essays from hedge witches and people that practice traditional witchcraft, and it has different topics like what is a hedge witch, the in-between places, to ride by night, so spirit flight, concerning the hex and the hedge crosser, flying ointment, walking with the bones of the earth, that kind of thing. So it's an book of essays by different authors and practitioners of traditional witchcraft and hedge witchery, and it's really good information if you would like to read that as well. Also in this category, it doesn't really count as traditional witchcraft, but I didn't really know where else to place this book, is Mastering Witchcraft. A lot of people like to recommend this as a beginner book. Let me say first, I really love this book, and I own it. I have it in my possession, but I don't really think it's that great of a book for a beginner. It doesn't really go into much detail about why it tells you to do the things that you do. There's a bunch of stuff about like decorating your tools with different runes, but it doesn't really tell you like what it means or anything like that. It also has some very dangerous ingredients in it as well. So if you pick this book up, just, you know those things, that this isn't really super great for beginners, but it's definitely really fun to have and own and play with, basically. Don't use the dangerous ingredients. I have a couple of books on Hoodoo. If you want to get into Hoodoo and rootwork, then you could pick up a couple of these. One is the Conjure Workbook by Star Cassis. I really like this one because she still uses a lot of different, she uses the Bible for a lot of things in her conjure work, and I really like that. I think that's really historically accurate, and she is a very southern woman, so it reads very much the way that she would talk, so that may be difficult for some of you. It wasn't that hard for me because I'm from the South, but it talks a lot about ancestors and building altars. It talks about the Bible, prophets and saints. She goes into divination, time magic, working with spirits, bottles and containers, lamps, mojo packets, that kind of thing. So if that's something you're interested in, this is a pretty big book too, so I do recommend it. Star Cassis. I think you have to buy it. I think I bought this one from her. This is a Pendraig Publishing book. Focus on this. No. Pendraig published book, so you may have to get it from them. And the next one is The Art of Hoodoo Candle Magic by Catherine Ironwood, and She also has one called like the Black Book or something like that. I couldn't find it. I own it, but I could not find it. But it's one that I do use a good bit. And it's a lot of different, I mean, it's kind of the same as the other book. Sorry, my video shut off. But I was talking about Hoodoo candle magic, and like I was saying, it's kind of like has a lot of the same information as the other book, except it's just about candle magic. Moving on, we have Asatru, a Practical Heathen's Guide to Asatru by Patricia Lafalive. I didn't get that much into Asatru, so I don't have that much stuff on it. I much preferred the myths and legends of the Norse people. Let me see what this has in it. So this has an introduction to heathenry, a brief history, gods and goddesses, ancestor worship, creation, cosmology, runes, charms, and magic, ethics, hospitality, and oaths, rituals, like their holy days and that kind of thing. So you could pick up something like that. I did enjoy the Norse myths by the Pantheon Fairy Tale and Folklore Library. This one was a really good one. I actually really enjoyed reading the Norse myths a lot. I don't know, they're just really fun as far as like myths go. And then you also have the Prose Edda by Snorri Sturluson, which is a very must-have if you're going to get into heathenry. So I recommend that too. And whoo, my books fell over. Last but not least, I have Libernal and Psychonaut by Peter J. Carroll. Is it J? Yeah. You can't see his last name, but it's Carroll, spelled C-A-R-R-O-L, I think. Yeah, C-A-R-R-O-L-L. Peter Carroll. This is about chaos magic. So if you want to be a chaos magician, then this is the guy that literally wrote the book about it. So I recommend this book. It talks about chaos magic. It's really fun. Oh yeah, this book is kind of dense. So it talks about mind control, magic, dreaming, gnosis, evocation, invocation, divination, enchantment, sorcery, and a bunch of other chaos magic type things. So if that's something that you're interested in, I do recommend this. I also have Condensed Chaos by Phil Hine. It has the foreword by Peter Carroll, so you know it's good. But it's a little easier to read. It's more about like what is chaos magic and how do you use it. That's it. We did all of them. My video only cut off once. This is like a 30-minute long video. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. Like I said, there are many other books that I've read that I just don't own anymore. So I didn't go over them. It took long enough to go over those few. So I think we did pretty good. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask me in the comments. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss anything. If you need to contact me or you want links to my social media, please go to my website, witchandmoon.com. And my email's on there, and all my social media sites are on there. My Etsy store, all that good kind of stuff is there. So you can find everything at witchandmoon.com. But I hope you guys enjoyed this. Sorry if it sounded like I was just droning on for 30 minutes, but I just had to get through it. Had to tell you guys what you needed so we could just get through it and get it done. But I hope you enjoyed this. As always, I highly recommend you do your own research, find what you like. This is all about your path and how you feel about things and your personal ethics and beliefs. So these are just my recommendations to you. It's not saying that you have to go by this whatsoever. This is just what I have and what I enjoyed, and maybe you'll like it too. So I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Thank you for watching. Bye.